Okay, blade lovers, we bring you today the Defcon Proelia TX916 tactical liner lock knife with a G10 handle and a D2 blade running on bearings. Well, that's everything. See ya. Just kidding. I'd like to give you a closer look because this was one I had included in an earlier video called Budget Beasts or something along those lines, I believe. I think it deserves its own video because for $35, it is a hell of a knife. It's a large knife. It's a little on the heavy side. Blackened blade, D2. They say here that it is a air hardened D2. So, okay. Bragging about how they process it. Not sure what the HRC is on it. Got some attractive blue hardware for pivot and screws. Got a deep carry clip. They do use the button top screws, which isn't the greatest, but I haven't had any real problem sliding it in and out of the pocket, so they don't really seem to get in the way, at least with my jeans. And nice drop point, spear point blade with a swedge on top, and some decent thickness to the steel. Action is on bearings and pretty much drop shutty. Let's back out just a bit. So yeah, it's a Defcon knife. I've reviewed at least one other Defcon branded knife, but it was more on the expensive side. It was a karambit, and you can pull up that video. It's still out there on the channel. And that was a higher end knife, S35VN, titanium handle, so on and so forth. Entirely different beast. So here we have both a flipper tab and thumb studs, and you can open it equally well with both. I really think if you want a don't worry about it, beat it up a little bit, abuse it a little bit type of EDC knife, this is the one. And let's see what she weighs. So yeah, it was heavy, almost 5.5 ounces, 4.440, 5.440. It is heavily weight relieved. Speaking of heavy, you can see some large rectangular cutouts there all the way along the show side, and also I believe, yeah, also on the liner side, liner lock side. So it's a liner locking knife with thicker liners. Lots of jimping. We got jimping on the butt end of the knife on the top. We have some effective jimping on the blade. Where else do we have jimping? That's pretty much it. So where your palm heel lands, you're not going to slide there. It has kind of a drop handle to it, almost sort of trending towards a pistol grip kind of thing, reminiscent of some Filipino knives I have. And I do hope to start getting a few of those Filipino short swords up and showing you those from manufactured by traditional Filipino weapons in the jungles of the Philippines, hand forged, etc. But that's something I've been meaning to do and will pretty soon. Handle on this is G10 with some interesting design patterns milled into it. It is a G10 handle, not molded. And you can see the texture to it. You know, it's not too aggressive, but it isn't slippery. And almost whatever hand size you have, you're going to fit in there because you don't have any finger grooves forcing you to hold it a particular way. You got a nice stop here for your finger, so your hand's not going to slide forward. Not really a choil, but you can rest your finger if you need to choke up a little bit. You can rest your finger there. They don't kick the termination of that blade forward at all, so it's going to form a point there if you force your finger up into it, and it will cut you. So the Proelia by Defcon, I believe is the way we're going to call that one. Lanyard hole. Completely open back construction. 2 pillars or standoffs. Nothing fancy. And we may as well do some measurements, right? So D2 blade, steel liners, G10 handle. And there we have 8 3/4 inch overall with a blade of almost 3 3/4, just a little shy of that. Cutting edge of 3 3/4. A blade thickness 3.8 millimeters. Handle thickness 0.67, so not a narrow guy at all. It is nicely contoured, rounded, top and bottom. So the ergos are, again, they're really good. It does sort of, because of the curvature, the down sweep of the handle, sort of force you to be most comfortable in a cross palm saber style grip. Although you can kind of rotate it back into a hammer grip as well. Anybody that practices Filipino martial arts and the knife arts knows that there is a purpose to having a knife that will be 90 degrees to your hand. I won't get into that right now, but you may or may not know what I'm talking about. Let's do some size comparisons against the Benchmade Freak. We are going to find that it has the same size handle. Let's see. Pretty much same size handle. And pretty close to the same blade length. Very close. For the Griptilian, it's going to be a bit smaller. A little bit shorter in the blade, a little bit shorter in the handle. You pretty much see that it is a smaller knife. Last but not least, the Rat 1. Trusty old Rat 1 doesn't see much service these days other than as a comparison. One of the best budget knives out there, though. So pivot to pivot, pretty much an equal, right down to the handle. However, a thinner cross-section to the handle, as opposed to the Proelia. So do I like it? Absolutely. As a good EDC knife, carries deep, is a reliable opener, decent steel. Smooth action. Doesn't matter whether you deploy it from the thumb stud or the flipper. Both are equally nice. And again, this is the Proelia by Defcon TX, Thomas X-ray 916. There are other versions of it, other TX versions with different blade shapes, some without the blackened blade. This came from White Mountain Knives, $35, less 10% discount. You do the math, pretty good. And they're in short supply, as far as I see. Hope you enjoyed this. Give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back with you soon. This Old Sword signing out.